So those are all your restorative actions, getting ready for the new world that we're going to be going back into when the scientists managed to work a bit of magic and found a way of protecting us as we go back into the workplace. And again, referring back to other downturns we've had, and the U and the V, whatever it is, it happens quickly. It turns around on a button. One week it's everyone maundering. Then the next week, suddenly, someone starts taking action, someone starts wanting staff, and then suddenly everyone does. And you need to be ready for that. You need to be ready mentally and in every way, shape, and form. So I'd like to take you through that so that you feel you can ready yourself. So here we go. First of all, that CV of yours, no more than 2 pages. Reading CVs, I can't tell you how boring they are when you've read a few, and I have. 2 pages max. In 2 pages, it shows that you have the intelligence to have been analytical about what you've done and why you've done it, and you've managed to compress it onto 2 sheets of A4 without wasting anyone else's time and annoying them because you've gone on to page 3 with 3 lines, or page 4, or heavens above, you've added a page for every new job. So knock it back. 2 pages, fabulous. Make sure it's an attractive layout. Make sure it's not repetitious. Make sure it just looks good and you feel it reflects you well. And then practice your online interview technique. Wow, this is something. Well, you're going to be interviewed on a screen. So no opportunity to shake hands and make that kind of response to people. You've just got your face and you've got the surroundings of your kitchen or your workplace, wherever it is you are going to be interviewed at home. And this is the highest probability, I'd suggest, and people are doing it already. So make sure your background is either appealing, attractive, or in blur. There's a command that enables you to blur your background to your advantage. Make sure your flatmates or anyone you share with is not going to come barging in halfway through. Do a deal. Give me 3/4 of an hour. I need it. And I need 10 minutes to arrange my head before I even sit down. So would you mind leaving the room now and see you later? I'll do the same for you. Make sure your windows are closed. Have a window open in another room for air, but don't have it outside don't have your window nearest you open. I've become quite, I've adopted some magical powers just this last week or so. I know exactly when the next door builders are going to start knocking down bricks. And I also have total insight into when my next door Australian neighbour is going to make his phone calls to Australia. Sounds like without the use of his telephone. It's going to be the minute I start recording. The minute I sit down to try and talk to you is when it's all going to happen. So to save you having this kind of background noise when you're having your interview, just make sure your windows are closed and you've got silence around you. And make sure you have a glass of water in case you get a bit thirsty halfway through. That's important too. Always have tucked away in your mind 3 good reasons why you want to be considered for a job. 3 good reasons. And always have, when being interviewed by us, 3 things that you want us to understand about you, which are very, very important to you. And if you can work them out in advance, sometimes things clarify during the course of an interview, but if you can give some serious thought to it before you present yourself, that's always impressive. Self-knowledge is impressive because if you know yourself quite well, then that comes across in the interview and people know that if they offer you a role, it's going to be, and you accept it, it'll be for reasons that are appropriate reasons for you, not reasons you find out halfway down the track, oh, it's not quite my cup of tea after all. Do your thinking first. We'll help test it for you, but you do your thinking first so that you feel in control of that side of yourself as well. Stay cogent with high impact responses. Wittering is never a great idea in front of an interviewer, and wittering normally just shows that you haven't thought about it yet. So do the thinking that you can before you go forward for an interview. Think about what your ideal is. Think about what your absolutes are and think about what you're flexible about. We'll come on to flexibility in a moment. Smart business attire. Any interviewer will take the view that whatever you look like for your interview is the best you can look. And that means that next time they see you, you won't look even as good as that. Now, no one can do much about their hair these days, apart from pin it back to make sure that your eye contact is very good. Given you only have your face to express yourself with and no body for them to see, make sure your face is clear and none of your facial expressions are interfered with by hair that you want to go like this with or like this with, or make movement which detracts from your concentration and the concentration of the person watching you. Makeup, whether you wear it or not, as a normal practice, the screen can be very, it can make you look a bit like Jasper the Ghost. So a bit of lipstick doesn't go amiss if you could bear the idea of putting it on. And if you normally wear lipstick, go a couple of shades darker than you normally would. It'll still come out looking quite pale on screen. So just think of that. Why? Because everyone's having to be guided by your facial expressions. And if your features aren't very visible, it's quite difficult to read your expressions. And it's your facial expressions that lead everyone to form a judgment about your personality, your attitude, your temperament. So if those clues aren't coming across, it's quite difficult for a would-be interviewer, a would-be employer, to be able to have a stab in the dark about the kind of person you actually are. So consider that and consider how you can make the best of yourself. Think of your CV and where it shows up particular examples of the things you're good at. And in advance, have checked with yourself that those are the examples you're going to use to explain the kind of person you are and what you're going to be able to bring to the organisation. Have it at your fingertips. Write it down. You don't have to try and remember everything then. In a situation where there won't be that many jobs to start off with, you don't want to be the person that curses themselves because, I forgot to say that at my interview. Have it written down. You can glance down to remind yourself and make sure you come up with it at the right moment, not too late. Because, as they say, you never have a second chance to make a first impression. And paper, it can really pick up sound using these laptops. So don't have paper moving around anywhere. Even the slightest one will really crackle and disturb you and them. You'll get feedback. So the new coming out, this is you. You've had your interview with us. We've already helped you as far as feedback's concerned, helping you with how you can best enhance your performance, helping you to be more concise, helping you to say with great clarity and use very accurate adjectives to describe what it is you've done without unnecessary words. And now, how are you going to come across? What are you going to be thinking about inside your head in order to get yourself ready for the new coming out? Well, as it's going to be swift, you need to be bright, ready, and super, super flexible. Right now, I know a lot of you will be feeling, or have been feeling, quite panicky and very, very concerned and troubled. In the outside world there, every company you go and have interview with will be feeling just like that too. Everyone, regardless of how wealthy it might appear on the outside, is in the same ship, and they're all concerned about their ship going down. And what do you do when the boat's sinking? You paddle like mad. You do whatever it takes because you know that sinking is the one thing which is the worst thing. So you do whatever. And whatever thoughts you've had before about, oh, I don't do that, and I'm a this. I used to be one of those, but now I'm a this. Whatever attachment you had to status, just bin it. The best executive assistants, the best office managers, the best people I can think of in the workplace are the ones who don't give a damn if it's their job or not. If they're walking through reception and see some paper on the floor of their office and they know that someone's about to come into the reception area, They pick it up. It's not their job, it's the cleaner's job, but they'll pick it up. Why? Because they're proud enough of their environment not to have it reflecting badly on the organisation and in turn on themselves. So whatever your thought about what it is you have done and the great heights you've risen to, work at really making yourself super flexible, because anyone going out to work is going to need to have the most supportive attitude projected in order to make themselves attractive to the company. I can give you an example of this. We had a couple of years back a hugely successful person who was very good at banking. There are a number of organisations that she's very keen to work on in Mayfair, and they were at the moment not recruiting. But one of them that we thought would be very good for her did have a vacancy, temp vacancy, 1 week as a receptionist, answering the phones and passing messages to all the big wheelers in the organisation. And we said, well, you know, no permanent interview, but got that. How about it? Fabulous, she said. Let me go in there and see how I do the job. Let them see me. I'd love to do that. So 5 days that week, she worked as a receptionist, and she was just a star. She just couldn't have been more charming, more effective, more knowledgeable about the way in which she did her reception job, until one of them said to her, so what are you going to be doing when you leave here? And she said, oh, I'm looking for a job with a hedge fund. Oh, what as? The receptionist? No, I've got these qualifications. Well, long story short, they didn't have a vacancy, but neither did they want to miss her, because they were bright enough to know that if you wait until you need someone to take on, suddenly you can't find anyone who's quite right. But if when you're looking around the world you see anything you want, buy it then, and you'll be ahead of the game and have it. It's a bit like if you want to have something for a party, don't wait till you've got to go shopping for a party or I can't go. If you see something, that is just my thing, that I know I'd love to wear, buy it then, and wow, when the party comes up, not a problem. Yep, sure, I'd love to come, and I don't have to go shopping and kill myself trying to try on things that don't suit me. So it's perhaps a rather superficial analogy, but it works. So you be ready to just get your bodies out there doing whatever it takes. Just get yourself out there so that people can see you and measure the kind of person you are, your flexibility, your lack of status, your willingness to work very hard to help the ship through the water, to help all the companies that you might be introduced to do better than they're currently in the situation of, because it's all hands to the wheel. And that's going to be right across the board for everyone.